To our first installation of our series on Liberia now. There is widespread discontent in the West African nation over a worsening economic crisis. Businesses are on the decline and inflation has soared. Consumer prices are up while employment prospects are diminishing. Earlier this year, the International Monetary Fund reviewed Liberia's economic growth forecast for 2019 to 0.4% from 4.7%. Susan Mwongeli reports.
Monrovia's sprawling seaside slum of West Point is a bustling place. With about 75,000 residents, it's a good choice for a food business. But Patience, a mother of 5, says business is not as it used to be.
The business is hard. It's we sell the business now. You mean to get on the inside now? No way. Thing expensive, thing hard. I tell the business now moving there before.
Before, she would make about $5 a day. Now she says it takes a stroke of luck to make half of that. It's not just failing business that Liberians are complaining about these days. Rising food prices too, which have doubled in recent months.
If we are not in recession, then I may say that sooner or later we'll get into depression.
Authorities attribute the situation to the 2014 Ebola outbreak that killed almost 11,000 people in the region and scared off both investors and aid workers. Then there is the withdrawal of the United Nations peacekeeping mission, whose average annual budget was equal to almost a quarter of Liberia's GDP between 2007 and 2018.
Lower Virginia used to boast of a large expatriate community. But since the last troops of the UN mission in Liberia left in 2018, places like this remain deserted. And it's a similar story in other parts of Liberia.
Brutus Sobe is a former driver for the UN in Liberia. He lost his job last year when the mission wrapped up. He now runs a taxi service, but his car broke down a few days ago.
Yesterday, a friend sent me mobile money, just 1,000 Liberian dollars to get it out. This guy had to tell me, say, no money. He only sent me money, but I'm not receiving money. So I had to beg him just to get my 1,000 from him so I can provide food today. Because my vehicle now is down. As I'm speaking to you. So life is not easy.
We should have planned for sustainable growth after Omid Shahal left the country by investing into the real sector, whether agriculture, to stimulate some sort of a growth. But our government only focus on extracting industry sector, which is the iron ore, where we export the robot. And the king of time, the resources price went down in the global community.
President George Weah has publicly acknowledged Liberia's economic woes and promised action.
When we had hard evidence of corruption, the president took action regardless of who was involved. And in this instance, that was the head of a public corporation. He immediately suspended him and put him at the disposal of our Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, and he went to court. He was just recently vindicated. I need to mention that. So it shows that where the president needs to take the strong actions, and generate the necessary political will to act, he acted.
These steps are doing little to assuage Liberians with mass protests planned for later this month. Organizers of December 30th protests believe this is the only way to get the government to take concrete steps to fix the economy.
We have government owing civil servants months of salary payments. There have been entities and government ministries and agencies that have been protesting for salaries, for transportation arrears, owe them. All of these issues keep piling up. And then on top of it, we have a systematic breakdown in transparency institutions.
In October, government agreed to an economic and financial deal with the International Monetary Fund to implement reforms including wage harmonization, an affordable wage bill level, and prudence in overall public sector spending. Good news for now, but might take much longer to implement. Of concern for both Patience and Brutus is immediate steps that will bring in more cash flow and lower food prices so that together with their families, they can have a good Christmas. Susan Mwongeli, CGTN in Monrovia, Liberia.